Greetings aspirants, welcome to Narayana IAS. This is Karthik Moni. I'm here with you for daily news analysis. In today's session, I have picked up 6 articles from the Hindu as well as Indian Express. The first article is related to the recent High Court judgment that it had struck down the Haryana's legislation regarding the private sector job quota. And second article is related to edible oil imports, and third article is related to road safety in India, and fourth article is related to Chimera, and fifth article is related to India's aspiration to make Indian currency a hard currency. And finally, we'll be discussing the facts related to the glyphosate. Coming to the first article, we are going to discuss the recent High Court's direction on Haryana's private sector job quota. So exam point of view, we can expect some direct mains question related to the reservation to the residents in private sector. So that is possible. A direct question is also possible. That's why we are discussing this article. Moving to the context part, recently in 2020, the Haryana government enacted a legislation, the Haryana State Employment of Local Candidates Act 2020. So under this legislation, so they wanted to reserve 75% of the private jobs for the local residents. So this is the context of this article. Apart from that, in this quota, so we have to know that this is applicable only for the jobs which are less than 30,000 rupees of salary. So this legislation was not accepted by the High Court. The High Court struck down this legislation, citing that it is discriminatory in nature. So in the light of this context, we have to know that argument in favor of reserving jobs in the private sector, that we have to know. And also we have to know why we should not encourage such provisions. Because already in 2019, Andhra Pradesh government came up with similar legislation that is also there in the judiciary to check the merits of such provisions. So nowadays there is a trend that state governments are coming up with such legislation to promote local residents to be there in the private jobs. So we have to know about the discussions on why we have to, why should not. So those arguments has to be discussed properly. So first we have to know why High Court struck down such reservation. The first and foremost important thing is it violates the Part 3 of Constitution. Yes, it violates the fundamental rights. So here, this legislation discriminates the local residents and the citizens of other states. This discrimination is violating the fundamental rights of the citizen. So in this aspect, so the High Court struck down the provision. And apart from that, it proliferate the Inspector Raj. The old Inspector Raj is like some of the provisions in this legislation is perpetuating the Inspector Raj. For example, Section 6 requests employers to submit annual quarterly report which deals with the local candidates employed. And under Section 8, which authorized the officers to call for documents and verification, which amounts to Inspector Raj. Yes, having such provisions, we can perpetuate the excess from the government officials. So that is possible. And apart from that, the rights of the employer will get affected. Here in this legislation, there is very less scope for the employer to question or to get the grievance redressal because of the government excess. So in this aspect, the rights of the employer is also getting affected. So in this aspect, the Haryana government struck down this legislation. Now we have to know about what are the issues related to the reservation to the residents in the private sector jobs. The first thing is it advocates the sense of soil theory, which means promoting or prioritizing the local residents. So here the problem is that first thing, as we already discussed, it affects the constitutional rights of the employers and also the constitutional rights of the employee as well. and it leads to the compartmentalization of the resources. And also it leads to the regionalism, ethnocentrism will be there, thus it threatens the harmony and unity of the nation as a whole. So this is the first problem. Second thing is violation of federal structure. Here the spirit of federal principle is getting affected, because here the existing reservation benefit one class. So the resident of one state is getting benefited, and here it is discriminating the other states. In this aspect, the smooth relationship between the states will get affected. So in this aspect, it affects the federal structure of India. And third thing is that efficacy of the private sector. So we have to think from the economics perspective as well. The efficiency of the private sector will get affected, because most of the jobs are skill based and analytical resource or analytical skill based requirements are there. So if you are limiting the possibility of acquiring talents from the across the nation, then it will ultimately affect the efficacy of the particular business. Finally, it also affects the cost of production as well, because as of now, some of the states are dependent on the resources from other states, because it is comparatively cheap in nature. So appointment of non-locals could also be due to the willingness of work at lower wages. So if you are not allowing this thing, then it ultimately increases the cost of production. Now we have to know why are state government reserving the job. So first reason cited by the Haryana government is that yes, it is the constitutional mandate and it is under the ambit of state government to reserve such jobs for the local residents. It cited the Article 16(4) that making any provision for reservation or appointment in favor of backward class of citizen. So this provision allows state governments to reserve jobs for the local residents, that is there. But the problem here is that backwardness, whether the existing legislation is supported by the backwardness as a criteria. That's a question mark. Second reason is that increased unemployment. So Haryana, there is a possibility or increased possibility of having unemployment. So the state itself dependent more on agriculture for its jobs. So because of this reason, our increase in unemployment rate is also one of the reasons for having such legislation. And apart from that, there is a problem of cultural conflicts. The state cited that the regional identity is getting missed because of increased immigration from the other states. So that is also a problem. So this kind of cultural homogenization is happening in the metro cities. So here the state is citing this as one reason. So because of increased immigration, their local traditions and the local language is getting affected. And in order to conserve its regional identity, the states are aspiring for such legislations. So now we have to know the way forward. So here, while enacting the legislation, the state assemblies have to take into account that the balance between the demands of the residents and the larger public interest of the country has to be taken into account. This is very important. So we know that an unemployment or increasing unemployment in the state is a reason for demanding such reservation into the private jobs. So we have, instead of thinking reservation as an option, we have to think from the perspective that we have to diversify the employment opportunities. We have to strengthen the manufacturing sector so that the absorption of more employees are possible, and also we have to increase the possibility of having more agro based industries in and around rural areas to observe such rural populations, and also we have to promote the entrepreneurship to overcome the problem of unemployment. Coming to the next article, we have an article related to edible oil. Exam point of view, we can expect question related to India's edible oil market and its related issues, and also we can expect some prelims related direct question related to the schemes such as National Mission on Edible Oil. So syllabus point, this article can comes under food security, technology mission, and also issues related to direct and indirect farm subsidies. And also we can relate this article related to the minimum support price. Moving to the context. So currently India is facing a problem that it relies more on import to satisfy its domestic edible oil demands. Look at the number, around 60% of its edible oil demand is met through the imports. So this is the problem. So we are going to discuss the article based on this context that India is importing more, or India is relying more on imported edible oil than the domestically produced one. So this is the context. So from this point we have to know about the data, how much we are importing, what is the evolution trend from the past 20 years, and also we have to know about the trends in the domestic production, and also we have to know about what we are going to do, how we are going to do. So this is going to be the discussion. So edible oil import profile, look at the number. So between 2004 to 5 and 2013 to 14, the import rose from 5 million tons to 11.6 million tons. So 5 to 11.6 million tons. So within 10 years, there is a steep rise. So that to 2004 to 14. So now look at the past decade. So between 2013-14 to 2022-23. So this decade, there is an increase from 11.6 million tons to 16.5. So this is the rise. So within 20 years, it went from 5 million ton to 16.5 million ton. So this is the problematic scenario. And apart from that, I want to highlight one more fact as well. Look at this number. So within a year, there is a steep rise from 14.03 million ton to 16.47 million ton. So within a year, between 2021-22 to 23, there is a steep rise. So we imported 2 million tons more than the previous year. So it's showing that nowadays the trend is even more worse, that we are relying more on imports for the demands of the edible oil. So now we have to know about the production trends. Look at the number. So 2022-23, so we are producing edible oil from two sources. So from the oil seeds and also from the other alternative sources. So direct sources, that is from oil seeds such as mustard, soya bean, so oil seeds. And apart from that, we are relying on alternative sources such as cotton seeds, rice bran, and also from maize and corn. So totally we are producing 10.3 million tons. So domestically the production is 10.3 million ton. By imports we are producing 16.5 million ton. So total consumption is 26.8 million. So here we have to know that around 38.6% is what the contribution of domestic production. So it's comparatively low. So which means 60% we are relying on imports. So apart from that, I want to highlight that in the domestic production, mustard and soya beans contributes more. So that we have to know. So here the situation is problematic and it will have our impacts in several aspects. So now we have to know about the vulnerabilities. So first thing is that it will affect the domestic production. The fall in international price of edible oil will create a competitive disadvantage for the local producers. So it discourages the local farmers to produce edible oil seeds. So because of this reason, it will affect the domestic production. So this is the first impact, first vulnerability created because of the imports. And second thing is the problem of price fluctuation. There is a possibility that availability of cheap edible oil is available every time. No, that we can't expect that. So there is a possibility that this price can fluctuate disadvantage to the domestic needs. There is a possibility that the price can go higher. In those occasions, it will affect the budget of the household. So already by importing more edible oil from the international market, it is affecting the domestic production. So domestic production is getting affected. It's shrinking day by day, day by day. If we are facing the problem of price fluctuation, it is not possible for us to produce domestically. So we have to rely on the import only. In this aspect, it will affect the household budget. So now the government have to step in to reduce this the price rise. So in those occasions, it will affect the government finances. They want to spend more on to subsidize this heavy price rise. In those aspects, it will affect the government finance. So now we have to think about what we have to do. What are the way forward which we want to do to reduce such vulnerabilities? The first thing is we have to increase the domestic oil production. So we have to increase, the state has to give more subsidies, the state have to give more support to increase the edible oil production in terms of geographically, that is also there. And also we have to improve the cultivation methods to increase the productivity of such crops. So that is also there. So increase in the domestic oil production is the first sustainable solution. And second thing, technology. So reliance on technology is very much important. So we can promote safe genetically modified technology. So even though we are facing trouble in terms of getting approval, so we are facing ethical and other technological concerns. So the government have to work in a quicker phase to resolve such issues for the implementation of genetically modified technology. So from this aspect, we can promote genetically modified mustard. So it is having a greater potential in terms of production. So technological intervention is very much important. Third thing is that we can work on the government measures such as MSP. Yes, as of now, the current minimum support price is concentrating more on cereals. So it is not encouraging the farmers to cultivate the oil seeds. So what we can do, we can increase the number of cars. We can bring the oil seeds into the baskets of MSP so that the farmers' income will also get secured. Those who are cultivating oil seeds, those income will also be secured in this aspect. So in this aspect, the production of oil seeds can also be increased. So first thing, we have to increase the domestic production. So production has to be increased. For that, we are requesting to rely more on technology, and also we want the government to work on is price mechanisms, price and farmer income safety as well. So by securing the farmer income and also by including technology into the picture, we want to increase the production of oil seeds. So apart from that, we have to know about India's initiatives. So we have National Mission on Edible Oil, oil palm. So it is a centrally sponsored scheme launched in 2021. So objective of the scheme is to increase the edible oil production and to reduce the reliance of the import. So under this scheme, so we want to increase the area on which the oil seeds are cultivated, that is one thing. And also we want to increase the productivity. So first thing, area has to be increased. Second thing, we have to increase the productivity. So two things they are concentrating. In terms of area, so the government want to increase the palm cultivation to 10 lakh hectare by 2025-26. So that is the number. So that is the vision which we have. And apart from that, the government is also providing financial assistance to the farmers for palm oil cultivation. And also they are giving subsidies for irrigation and for other inputs. These are some of the measures taken by the government to improve the edible oil production in India. Next, we have an article related to road safety. Exam point of view, we can expect some direct question related to road safety. That is also possible. And also we can expect question related to Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019. And also we can expect National Road Safety Policy 2009 in the prelims examination. Syllabus wise, this article is related to the current events of national and international importance, and also mains point of view, we can relate this topic to infrastructure under GS paper 3. Moving to the context, yesterday, that is November 19, we commemorated the World Day of Remembrance of Road Traffic Victims, and also I want to highlight the number that's according to the World Health Organization, around 3 lakh people are estimated to be killed in India due to road accidents. So when we jot down the number, it is around 34 people got died for every 1 hour in India every day due to road accidents. So look at the number, it is huge. So we have to look into the problem of road safety, because the mortalities due to road safety is increasing and the number is also high in India. So the government have to take some stringent measures to reduce the problem of mortalities due to road accidents. So coming to the reasons, so I want to highlight 2 different reasons. One, the driver negligence and also lack of stringent measures to contain the driver's negligence on one side, and also I have to highlight the problem of infrastructure, deficiency in infrastructure. So these are the 2 major areas that we have to highlight from the point of reasons for increase in road accidents in India. So coming to the driver's negligence point, first thing is overspeeding. Yes, in India this is a problem. So because of overspeeding, it contributes around 30% to overall road accidents in India. And apart from that, we have to know that drunken driving is another important problem from the driver's point of view. It accounts around 20% of overall road accidents. And with respect to India, this problem is high. When compared to global nations, other nations, India is having more accidents because of drunken driving. Apart from that, non-adherence to traffic signal is very important problem. It accounts 15% of all road accidents in India. Apart from that, the road cutting, the cutting of lanes is very important, because not adherence to such lanes is also a problem. It accounts to 8% of road accidents. So first important problem, overspeeding, then drunken driving, and then the problem of not adhering to the signals, and finally cutting the lanes is also a problem. So this is from the point of driver's negligence. And apart from that, from the infrastructure point of view, so existence of potholes. So damaged lanes and having potholes will increases the problem of road accidents when it comes to the driver's negligence. Think from the perspective that overspeeding is happening, and also think that we are also having potholes in the same lane, then the consequence will be disastrous, right? Apart from that, lack of proper drainage. So wet and slippery roads are also another reason. So this is very important, because in India, because of during monsoon season, we experience the problem of road accidents due to slippery roads. So proper drainage is also very important reason. Lack of proper drainage is also an important reason for increased road accidents in India. The lack of poor road markings. According to the IIT Delhi reports, the poor marking led to the 8% of overall road accidents in India. So infrastructure point of view, the existence of potholes, lack of proper drainages and led to the slippery roads, and lack of the proper markings on the road led to the road accidents. So apart from that, we also need to highlight the role of governance. So here the lack of implementation of stringent rules is also an additional reason for increased road accidents in India. So only because of this lack of stringent implementation of rules, we are experiencing the problem of driver negligence. Apart from that, we have to work more on infrastructure. So that is an additional area which we have to work it out. So now we have to think about the measures. The first thing is if enforcement of traffic law and regulations strictly. Yes, we have to think about the implementation of law in terms of using helmets and also in terms of using seat belts. There is an interesting report that having or wearing seat belts will reduce 45% of road mortality. So the number is very high. So enforcement of traffic law and regulation strictly will reduce the road accidents. And second thing, improved road infrastructure. So we should have a separate lanes. So as of now, like even the animal and also the pedestrians, the cyclists and then the motor vehicle, everything traveling through one single road. So that should be avoided. We need separate lanes for cyclists, those who are walking through the lanes. Those people we have to create some separate lanes. Creating infrastructure is very important. So next we have to increase the awareness about the road safety. So in this aspect, we can do workshops and campaigns to the school students and also the common citizens to increase the use of helmets, seat belts, and also we can give the counselings to reduce driver negligence. So that is there, and also the government have to work on invest in research and development for our road safety technologies. We can work on the technologies such as anti-skid braking technology, and also we can work on the airbag technology, and also we can work on the tires. In those aspects, increasing the revenue or spending more on research purposes will reduce the mortality and road accidents. And finally, having an intelligent traffic management system is also a very important area. In this aspect, regulating the traffic will have a greater impact in reducing the road accidents. We can include the technologies such as artificial intelligence to effectively regulate the traffics. In this aspect, we can reduce the road accidents to the greater extent. So next we have to know about the government measures. So first we have a Road Safety Policy 2009. In this, the policy wanted to enhance the road engineering standards by improving or having a uniform standards. The policy want to reduce the road accidents. Apart from that, the policy document wanted to improve the research on the aspects of road safety such as airbags, anti-lock braking system, and also wanted to improve the research on electronic stability control. So one is to having the uniform standards, another one is having the improved research on road safety, and finally it also wanted to strengthen the education and awareness. So even though if you have a technology, even though if you have the standards, we want the drivers to accomplish those standards. For that, we want to educate them. We want them to aware of those road safety standards. So for that, the policy highlighted the need for awareness and education campaigns. Apart from that, we also having Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019. It increases the penalties for traffic violation and also the strict enforcement of traffic rules. Yes, even though we have the rules, enforcement is very important. So enforcement of recent Motor Vehicle Amendment Act will also be a viable option to reduce road accidents. Apart from that, India have to work on implementing the comprehensive safe system approach that was envisioned in the UN's second decade of action for road safety 2021 to 2030. So next we have an article, Chimera, host to multiple genotypes and maybe human organs. Exam point of view, we can expect some direct questions related to chimeras, genotypes and phenotypes. Moving to the context, now we are looking for growing organs from the chimeric animals. So possibility of having such animals will facilitate the organ transplantation, which is helpful for humans. So this is the context of this article. First, we have to know about what is meant by chimeras. So chimeras are organisms that composed of cells or tissues from two or more distinct species. For example, a cell or tissue which used to have the genetic makeup of different species. Look at this bird. So here it is having two different colors. It is having blue here and it's having green here, which means it is expressing the characteristics of two species. So this is what we used to call it as chimeras. So here there is a possibility of having natural chimeras, and also there is a possibility of having artificially laboratory created chimeras is also possible. So here in the laboratory based chimeras, they'll combine the cells from different species. They'll inject the cells of one species into the embryos of another species. Example, we have the human pig chimeras. Here it is created by injecting human cells into the embryos of pigs. So this is what we call it as chimeras. So naturally is also possible, and laboratory based artificial creation of such chimeras is also possible. So in the prelims examination, we can expect some statement that chimera is only the artificial creation of creating species of having two different genotypes. Such statements are possible in the examination. So for that we have to know that natural chimeras is also possible in the environment. So now we have to know about the purpose of such research. The first thing is to understand the human developments. So understanding the human development in terms of cell differentiation. So initially we'll be having one cell, so embryo will be there, and then this one cell will get differentiated into different organs. We'll be having blood cells, we'll be having tissue cells, we'll be having nerve cells. So it get differentiated into different cells. So the human development we have to know. So if we know the human development, we can think about the possibility of having generative medicines. We can also think about the possibility of gene therapies also. Apart from that, this research is useful for the unveiling the disease mechanism and progression. How the disease the onset is happening, how the progress is happening. If we came to know about these mechanisms, disease mechanisms, we can effectively treat such diseases. Apart from that, this is also useful to check the efficacy of the drug as well as drug safety. So here they'll use chimeric animals to check the efficacy as well as safety. So instead of using or instead of trying or instead of doing clinical trials from humans, the researchers will try chimeric animals to check the efficacy of the drug. And apart from that, organ transplantation point of view, it is very important. We can use the organs developed from the chimeric animals for the human welfare. That is also possible. So as of now, we are trying this possibility with human pig chimera. And finally, the understanding of the species interaction, how the symbiosis of two different genes will represent. So those understanding will also be possible from this chimeric interaction or chimeric animals. That is also possible. So now we have to know about what is meant by genotype and then what is meant by phenotype. So genotype is the genetic characteristics. The characteristics are physical characteristics expressed because of the genetic makeup. So here it is determined by the DNA. So genetic information will determine the physical character. So this is what we call it as genotype. So whereas in the case of phenotype, it is also a physical characteristics, but it is expressed as a result of, as an interaction with the environment. So the genetic character will interact with the environment. As a result of these two interactions, there will be a result. This resultant interaction is what we call it as phenotype. So genotype is a physical characteristics expressed because of the genetical makeup. It's because of the DNA, whereas the phenotype is an expression because of the interaction due to the environment. So this is what we call it as genotype and phenotype. Next we have an article, conditions not ripe yet to transform rupee into a hard currency, says GTRA. So exam point of view, we can expect some direct conceptual questions related to hard currency, middle income country, and also capital account convertibility. Moving to the context, recently a think tank, the Global Trade Research Initiative, suggested that India should first aim to become a middle income country before pushing the Indian rupee a hard currency. So they wanted to strengthen the Indian economy. They wanted the India to become a middle income country before making Indian rupee as hard currency. This was the suggestion given by the research initiative. So now, exam point of view, we have to know about what is meant by middle income country first. So it is a categorization of a country by the World Bank. So World Bank will designate some country as middle income country based on its economic performance. So if gross national product per capita is somewhere between $1,000 to $12,000 at constant price of 2011, then the particular country is categorized as middle income country. So now we have to know the India's performance. So India's GNI is somewhere $2,300 US dollar, right? So here there is a confusion. So it's somewhere between this number. But as per the think tank's suggestion, so India want to become a upper middle income country. As of now, India is categorized as lower middle income country. So in order to make Indian rupee as hard currency, India wanted to become as a upper middle income country. So that is the suggestion given by the think tank. Now we have to know about what is meant by hard currency. So hard currency is nothing but a reliable, stable and tradable currency used in the international trade. So here look at the word stable. The fluctuation should not be there. So it should have low fluctuation so that a country or nation can store the particular currency for the international trading. So as of now, India, the rupee is facing the problem of high fluctuation. So that should not be there. So in order to make some currency as hard currency, it should be reliable and stable. So that is the criteria to make one currency as hard currency. So now we have to know about earlier initiatives taken by the RBI. In 2022, RBI came up with a system for international trade, to facilitate the international trade, to assist African and South Asian regions. So the nations from Asia and Africa faced a problem of decline in the foreign currency due to the COVID pandemic. So because of challenges of reduction in the tourism and also the problem of decline in export, their foreign currency got declined. So in order to manage those situations, so India created a system in this aspect. It facilitated the international trade through Indian currency. India also facilitating the countries which are facing the problem of UN sanction. So here there is a problem, that is the problem of double conversion process. So in this, the currency has to be converted as US dollar first and then we have to convert it to INR. So because of this conversion, there is a loss, 3 to 4% of loss will be there because of the transaction. So that overall transaction value get reduced, double process. So this is the challenge. So now we have to know about the challenges in making India's rupee as hard currency. So there are some preconditions that has to be met to make Indian rupee as hard currency. So these are some of the criteria. So economic stability should be there. the inflation should be low and stable, and then the country have to show a consistent growth, and also balanced trade environment should be there, and also the country should have balanced or effective debt management system. So when it comes to the India, yes, consistent growth is there. Yes, that is possible. And to an extent, inflation is also comparatively within the limit. That is also possible. But look at these two, balanced trade environment. So even today we are facing the problem of BOP crisis. So that too, current account we are facing deficit. So current account deficit is still a problem for India. Apart from that, India is also facing the problem of huge debt. Even though the short-term debt is comparatively low, so overall the number is huge. So the debt management aspect also India is facing trouble. So in the aspects of economic stability, we have to work on the aspects of current account deficit, and also we have to work on the aspects of debt management. So in order to make Indian rupee as hard currency, these two areas are priority areas India needs to work. And apart from that, in the international arena, so the role of Indian rupee is comparatively low. When compared to US dollar and euro, the international trade in terms of Indian rupee is comparatively low. So even though we are making this as a hard currency, the utility of such move will be comparatively low. And also, we have to think from the perspective of volatile capital flow. If you are making Indian rupee as fully convertible, and also GTRI emphasize the challenges of making rupee fully convertible will expose Indian rupee to global shocks. So as of now, the incoming and outgoing of Indian rupee is regulated by the RBI. So making it as fully convertible will open Indian economy to global shocks. So that is possible. This topic we have picked up from Hindu science column. It is there at the bottom of the Hindu column. So exam point of view, we are expecting some question related to glyphosate. Moving to the context, the glyphosate approval for European Union market will get expired in the coming December. So we need reauthorization for further use. So amid this all controversies, the Monsanto produced a spray, the weeder named Roundup, without the use of glyphosate. So this is the context of this article. From the exam point of view, we have to know about what is meant by glyphosate, what are the uses, and what are the challenges of using of having such chemicals in the agriculture. So these things we have to know. Coming to the basics, glyphosate is a phosphonic acid resulted from the formal oxidative coupling of methyl group of methyl phosphonic acid and amino group of glycine. So phosphonic acid plus glycine will be getting glyphosate. So exam point of view, we have to know that. So glyphosate is an acid. So this is the first idea we have to know. So second thing is that it is the only functional chemical to target EPSP synthase. So what is meant by EPSP synthase? So EP, enzyme 5-enol pyruvyl, that is EP, enol pyruvyl, and 3 shikimate phosphate synthase, that is SP. So it is a very important component when it considers the plant growth. So this particular chemical, that is glyphosate, will inhibit this EPSP synthase enzyme. So by inhibiting this particular chemical, it will affect the plant growth. So for this aspect, we are using glyphosate as a herbicide. So next we have to know about the uses. Yes, it is used in agriculture, widely used chemical in agriculture as an weedicide. So this is very important. Here I have to highlight two things. Used before planting crops and also during the growing season as well. So before growing the crops, it is understood. Why? Because we have to clear the land, we have to clear the weed for the cultivation. We will be spraying the glyphosate and it will kill all the weeds. So that is easy, and it is easy to understood as well. And the second thing is during the crop season. So there is a possibility that this particular chemical can kill the actual crop also. So there is a possibility. For that only we are using GM crops. So genetically modified crops which is tolerant towards such chemical. For example, we have CP4 EPSP synthase enzymes, which is known for genetically modified variety of crops. So this particular crop is tolerant towards such chemical. In this aspect, we can also use this herbicide during the growing phase of the crop as well. And apart from that, as a non-agricultural use, we can use it for gardening, landscaping, and also can use it in public parks and also along the roadsides. So these are the two areas. Mainly we are using it in the agricultural purpose, and also it is useful for the non-agricultural purposes as well. And now we have to know about the characteristic features. So here I am going to discuss only the ecological and health point of view. So first thing is low lipophilicity. This chemical is having low affinity to fats, and lipid tissues. So here we can understood that it is having less scope for bioaccumulation and biomagnification. So that is first thing. And second thing is rapid metabolism and elimination. So it does not tends to persist and accumulate in tissues because it can be easily break down by the metabolic pathways, so that it can be eliminated from the body as a harmless byproduct. So metabolism, the human metabolism or metabolism which is there in the animals, can easily break down this component so that it can be easily eliminated from the body. So third thing, limited uptake by the plants and animals. So uptake by the plants is primarily temporary in nature, so that storage within the plant tissue is also less possible. And finally, when it comes to the environment as whole, the shell life of this particular chemical is comparatively low, short half-life, so that, and that too I have to highlight that in soil, in water, and also in living organisms in general, so that it can be easily degraded by the process such as microbial activity, photodegradation, and also chemical process, so that it will be easily removed from the environment. So it is understood that it is less toxic to human beings as well as environment. So now we have to know about the potential health issues as well as the ecological issues. So in March 2015, World Health Organization and International Agency for Research on Cancer classified this glyphosate as probable carcinogenic agents in humans. Even though it is less toxic in nature, even though it is having less affinity to fats and other bodily tissues, there is a possibility that it can create cancer for human beings. So that is the first potential hazard. And second thing is that it can cause serious eye damage, and also there is a possibility that it can be toxic to reproductive organs. So these are the potential health issues identified by the global health organizations. And apart from that, there is a possibility that it can impact ecology as well, to some extent, that it can impact non-targeted plants. Yes, we are spraying generally. There is a possibility that the non-target plants or non-target weeds can also get affected because of this spray. And also the algae, fungi in that particular region, also possibility that getting affected because of this chemical. And also the sensitive aquatic organism will also get affected because of this chemical agent. Now let's try some of the prelims practice question. Consider the following statements. Hard currency is typically characterized by stability, wide acceptance, and low inflation rate. Make it desirable for international transaction. Yes, it is true. Second statement, reserve currencies are currencies held by the central banks and other financial institutions as a part of foreign exchange reserve. providing confidence in their monetary and economic stability. Yes, second statement is also correct. So select the correct answer from the options given below. So answer is both 1 and 2. So answer is C. C is correct. Second question. Which of the following measures have been introduced by the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act 2019 to improve the road safety in India? So option A requirement for all vehicle to be fitted with speed governors. Yes, it is true. Second statement, all new vehicle to be fitted with airbags. So it is not possible to have airbags in all the vehicles. So based on the vehicle only we can fit. So second statement is wrong. And also we also have the extreme word called all. Third statement, all road users to wear helmet. So that is also not needed and that is wrong. And fourth statement, requirement of all vehicle to be fitted with anti-lock braking system. So except the first statement, all three statements are having the extreme words, all. So whenever we found some extreme words, we have to be very conscious. So only the option A is correct, all other options are wrong. Yes, option A is correct. Third question, consider the following statement with regards to the Chimera research. So it is helpful in understanding the human development. Yes. It unravels the mechanism and progression of disease. Yes, it's true. It helps in evaluating the efficiency and safety of the drugs. Yes, it is true. Addressing the needs of the organ transplant. It is also true. So how many of the above statements given are potential applications of Chimera research? Yes, option is D, all the 4. Yes, D is correct. Fourth question, consider the following statements. In 2022, India was the highest importer of palm oil worldwide. Yes, it is true. The palm oil tree is native to Southeast Asia. This is also true. Palm oil can also be used to produce biodiesel. Yes, it is also true. So option is, B. So 1, 2, 3, all 3 statements are correct. Yes, option is B. Now let's try one mains practice question. Do you think state's initiative to reserve private job for the resident are justified? Critically analyze. So look into the directives as well. Apart from the core part of the question, we have to think about the directive as well. Here they wanted to do the critical analysis. We have to present both sides of the arguments, right? So here we can start with the recent legislation. We can tell them that Haryana government came up with the legislation in 2020 to reserve the jobs, and then we can introduce the idea that like they wanted to have 75% of the jobs to be reserved in the private sector. So start with the recent legislation and then give the body part by having the supporting arguments on one side, and also we can give the opposing arguments on the other side. So supporting arguments, we can tell them that constitutionally it is approved. We can tell them that 16 article fundamental rights, article 16 is having a provision to have resident as one criteria that we can mention, and also we can give the justification of increasing unemployment, and we can give the idea of securing the regional identity. Those things we can include for the supporting arguments. For the opposing arguments, we can tell them the problem of having sons of soil concepts, the problem of regionalism, ethnocentrism, that can also be included. And also we can tell them how it affects the efficacy of the private sector, and also we can include how it violates the federal structure and how it will increase the cost of not allowing resources from the other states. So these are the possible arguments we can present. So try to present the balanced aspects of supporting arguments as well as the opposing arguments, and finally come up with the conclusion that reservation is not the means to tackle the problem of unemployment. So instead we have to come up with the solutions such as diversifying the employment, and also we can promote the entrepreneurship. In this aspect, we can increase the job opportunities, and also we can reduce the problem of unemployment. So we can conclude the question in such aspects. So that is the end of this session. Thanks for watching. Do like, share and comment the video, and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you all.